hats off to the leadership, saying it starts with him. You can see that if the playoffs started today, the Flyers would be on the outside looking in, and that doesn't sit well in the city of brotherly love. They do have 25 games remaining to make it into the yellow. As we look at their defensive stats, this is for the whole season. This is not new, and people will point at the retirement of Matt Niskanen and say, well, that's a significant reason, but Callie, Weeksy, there's got to be a fix, and one that they find for the last roughly half of the season. What is it?
Callie, start us off. I'll jump in.
Yeah, just watching their games of late, Weeksy, is just odd man rushes.
Yeah.
Has been a huge issue for me, and going back to last night, they gave up a couple. The game before that, they gave up a couple, and a lot of people are pointing at Carter Hart that he needs to be better, but he needs help. Yeah. He needs help in front of him, and one of the things that Chuck Fletcher said that was obvious to me is the makeup of this team right now is not right, or we need to change the makeup of this team. I mean, he sees it. It's pretty obvious that he wants to make moves, and he's trying to make moves. But I guess what moves is he making? Is he making moves of, let's make moves and try to make the playoffs, or is he looking at this team and making moves for the future? I guess is the big question coming out of that press conference for me.
You know, it's interesting because the Flyers have been, last year I loved their season, and at really the first quarter of this season I loved them as well, and I've been saying how much they've improved. And I will say they have a lot of character in their room. There's no question. Yep. They've got character. They have a character group, and they can score with anybody. There's no question about that either. But you know, being on teams that have gone deep in the playoffs, as we have, you got to defend. And, I mean, there's no real – this is not a Pennsylvania state secret or a South Jersey state, location secret. If you want to go deep in the Stanley Cup playoffs, your team has to defend. Your former club, you just talked about it yesterday with Tampa.
Yep.
No better example. Is there a more explosive offense than Tampa when everybody's healthy? Please, imagine if Kucherov was playing for them right now.
Seriously.
So I say that only to say, look, any and everybody can defend. Not any and everybody can score goals, right? But everybody can defend. And to a player in that group, you've got to help these guys. This is a good goalie combo, period.
Yep.
And Carter Hart's one of the best young goalies. Mackenzie Blackwood. Now we have Cocken and some of the other ones. But the difference with those other players, they're getting help. These guys are, neither of these two guys are getting help because the team, player to player, hasn't bought into defending. And it doesn't mean that it has to be at the expense of your offensive stats either.
Nope.
But block a shot, play well positionally, be sound, be strong on your stick in the D zone, as you said last night. Play from the middle out. Give yourself a chance so you don't have to chase games, and then you'll be on the right side of the score sheet more often than not.
It's a choice. To defend is a choice, and a will and a want. And, everybody, like you said, not everybody can score goals. Everybody can defend. It's not a matter of not being able to defend. Listen, I couldn't score 50 goals. I wanted to.
Sure.
But I couldn't put 50 goals in. You know what I mean? Yeah. But 50-goal scorers, they can still defend. It's not that hard of a thing. It's just a choice and a willingness to do so.
You talked about your playing days. You played for Alain Vigneault. It's not like he's forgotten how to coach hockey, yet within about a week's time, his team lost 2 games. One 9-0, another one 6-1. Is there any reason with the amount of talent on this team that they should be outscored in 2 out of 3 games 15-1?
No. Short answer, no, there's no reason. It doesn't matter who's behind the bench. Tony, you could coach that team, and, that's not the issue. It's the issue is what's going on the ice, and, those games obviously get away from you.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit here and say they'd lost that game 9-0, and that's what the team there are. Those games get away from you when you're down 4 or 5-0, and things happen. But this Philadelphia team, I mean, it almost seems like every year they go through a stretch, and this year it's just exposed more because of the shortened season. But even when I was playing, they'd always seem to lose 10 in a row. And then they'd come back and win 10 in a row and erase that. But this team always seems to have that inconsistency, and it's magnified this year just because of the shortened season.
There are some big-ticket items on that. When you look at the numbers, you've talked about the character of their group. As we look at the cap hits, these are big names. These are big-time players. Do you move any of these guys?
I mean, you explore it. I mean, Van Riemsdyk's been money. Kevin Hayes has been awesome. Voracek is so good when he's going. G's so good when he's going. But to this point right now, I think that Giroux and Voracek can be better, but I wouldn't only limit it to those guys. I'd look at the entire roster. I know Chuck well. Chuck was my first assistant general manager. I signed my first NHL contract with Chuck Fletcher with the Florida Panthers. Always grateful for him for giving me my start in the league. And overall, he's done a nice job. But I think where they sit right now, to your point, and I think Chuck said this, if I'm not mistaken, that they're not looking to be sellers. So that looks like you're willing to add pieces. So to do so, you're going to have to look at that roster and see what some of those pieces may attract in terms of interest from opposing teams. But I've been saying it here. 2 things. Number one, I think they need Mattias Ekholm more than any other team in the league. And I think he could cure a lot of ills for that
I like the way you say it, too. You say a lot of people want him.
Correct.
They need him.
They need him. Philly needs him right now. No Matt Niskanen, who won cups. And Matt Niskanen, steady Eddie. And I talked to some people in the Flyers group. They're like, Weekes, it's different without Niski here. We're a different team. We defend differently. So could Mattias Ekholm be that glue in that role to come in? I certainly think he can be, based on his size, his ability to defend, and his skating ability, his intensity, and things of that nature. But I would also say this. Here's a pause for concern. Oscar Lindblom overcame cancer.
A warrior.
A warrior. All the way back. Fought the other night. Scoring, making plays. After overcoming cancer.
Yes.
Everybody else in the room
Ring the bell.
is healthy.
Come on.
So, fellas, listen. Big O's doing it. He's doing it for us. We were behind him in his fight. He's behind us right now. Let's go. Like, let's roll.
Goosebumps.
Come on.
Goosebumps,
right.
man.
100%. And talking about those guys and moving those guys, and Chuck Fletcher, he said they're going for it, right?
Yeah.
They said they want to add. None of those guys are going anywhere if they're going for it. So, I mean, I don't see them moving any of those guys if that's what they want to do.